Top story: 2 days after the breach of the Kherson Dam, shelling took place in the area. The Interior Ministry of Ukraine has said that 8 people have been wounded during the Russian strikes. This comes as rescue teams have been working to save thousands of people trapped by the flooding caused by the rupture of the major dam. Ukraine and Russia have accused each other for the crisis. Meanwhile, Russian President Putin met Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. Sources say Russia aims to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. On the other hand, President Zelensky requested the world to unite against the war and help Ukraine with essential supplies. Japan has offered humanitarian aid worth $5 million to Ukraine.
Сегодня ночью вооруженные силы Российской Федерации нанесли групповой удар высокоточным оружием большой дальности морского и воздушного базирования по складам боеприпасов, вооружения и военной техники иностранного производства, в том числе беспилотных летательных аппаратов. Все назначенные объекты поражены. В результате ударов нарушено снабжение группировок украинских войск в районах ведения боевых действий. В течение прошедших суток вооруженные силы Украины продолжали попытки ведения наступательных действий на Южнодонецком и Запорожском направлениях. В районе Временского выступа подразделениями группировки войск «Восток» отражено 4 атаки противника, проводимых силами до 2 батальонных тактических групп, усиленных танками в районах населенных пунктов Левадная Запорожской области, Новоселка, Сторожевое и Нескучное Донецкой Народной Республики.
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
We're going to continue to protest every Friday because, this is only the beginning of the fight. The climate crisis is only getting worse, and all the other crises connected to it are also escalating, so it is our duty to speak up. I mean, what is there to say otherwise that it's absolutely horrifying and awful, and that Russia needs to be held accountable for their actions and for their crimes, and the eyes of the world are on them now.
Even underground, there is no escaping Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The conflict has thrown up huge new problems for the country's coal mines, from miners leaving to fight to airstrikes on facilities. But the mines keep running in what operators see as an act of defiance that is vital to the war effort. Viktor Kuznetsov is chief engineer at one mine in eastern Ukraine.
We are faced with new challenges, new problems that have arisen in our production flow. This includes difficulty with the supply of equipment. Another challenge is people who've left us as well as our newcomers. There are problems caused by missile attacks that lead to power outages. Last year there were several times when we had to stop production.
Kuznetsov says more than 400 workers have been mobilized since fighting began last year. Some have been replaced by other workers, including people displaced by war. The mine has also faced missile strikes and problems with supplies. Miner Andriy Yurkov is one who was displaced by war. He says the fighting has come all too close.
Well, as they say, the war has come here too. During one of the shifts when we were working underground, there was a hit on the power plant and the mine lost power. And we had to go out through emergency exits. There was no power inside the mine. We had to get out through the emergency exits.
Engineer Kuznetsov says the mine kept going because it had prepared for eventualities including loss of power. But an already hazardous job has been made a whole lot more risky.
And I'm joined by Ksenia Kondrativa, senior Russian journalist on the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us on CNN News 18.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my first question is, despite the blame game between the two sides in the wake of the blast which occurred at the dam, do we have any idea who actually is behind this crisis?
Well, we don't have any more information to answer this question, and we know that no investigation, at least by any of the international bodies, have been done. And in fact, today morning, Ukrainian authorities, Mr. Kuleba has, in one of the TV shows in Ukraine, has said that all these investigations that I think he meant Turkey, because Turkish president spoke about the need for an investigation. All these people who want to conduct investigations, you guys just come to Kiev and see for yourself. No need to, do all these balancing acts. I mean, he spoke in much more strong words. Without any investigation, without anyone on the site, independent people on the site is between Russian and Ukrainian forces. There is constant shelling. We cannot answer those questions. But, I would just like to point out, because I've spent the last 3 days tracking what's happening in the on the left bank, which is actually Russia controlled. Why the left bank? Because it's impacted the most due to the landscape. It's very it's downstream from the Kakhovka Dam, and it's a very low land. In fact, I have a family house there, and it's I believe underwater. It has been a personal pain as well, not just for me as a journalist, but for me as a person. So I've been tracking the rescue efforts, and it's really a disaster. I know that volunteers are working, trying to help people, and Russian Emercom is working. But already doctors have warned that because a lot of cemeteries are being washed away, there are risk of cholera epidemic. It's really a disaster. And right now, what I believe what has to be done is, first of all, to help people, and then really conduct some sort of investigation. Otherwise, but if you see all the previous so-called war crimes that the Ukrainian leaders and the Western leaders, they have accused Russia of many war crimes, and they use this word without any investigation being conducted, right? I can only remember Bucha, where some delegations have come, but in the Russia-controlled territory, I've been to Mariupol, where the drama theater was blown up, where the maternity hospital was blown up, and I've spoken personally to the survivors of, that attack. No one ever has contacted them. No, not Russian police or authorities. No Ukrainian, not the international, to conduct any investigation, and that happened more than a year back. So I don't think anyone is interested right now in investigating anything.
Right. So no one's interested in investigating anything. And our thoughts and prayers for your family, Senya. You're saying that your family is also in that affected area. My other question is that when it comes to Ukraine's counteroffensive, this dam blast has come right ahead of that expected counteroffensive by the Ukrainian forces, who have been armed by the Western powers. How does this affect Zelensky's plan to possibly liberate those areas under Russian control?
You mean how the dam situation affects his plans?
Yes.
If I heard you correctly.
Yes, that's my question. Yeah. Senya, can you hear me? Right, we'll try to reconnect with Senya over there, but I think we're having some audio issues with her. But the latest that's coming in is that the blame game continues between the two sides over who caused that blast at the dam. I think Senya is back with us on the line. Senya, something that everyone has been keeping an eye on is the Ukrainian counteroffensive, so that because Zelensky has told the Western powers that given the arms that have been pumped into the Ukrainian forces, they have the ability now to liberate a lot of Ukrainian territory that has come under Russian control. But given the disaster in the Kherson region, how has that affected Zelensky's plans?
You see, of course, they had to change their plans, at least what concerns the southern part of the front line, the Kherson region. And again, as many commenters have said, this disaster, on one hand, helped Russia to, avoid the counteroffensive from Ukrainian army on that front line. But it also, at the same time, helped Ukrainian forces to shift their equipment and personnel to the other parts of the front line. So it's really difficult to say, who I think it's a sort of a win-win situation. Again, we are not taking all the casualties we're not counting the casualties. But we have to see the counteroffensive, at least as Russia side claims, has been continuing for last 3 or 4 days. And again, the Russian side claims it has not been that effective. Most of the equipment, and we have the video evidence, photo evidence for that most of the equipment, all the Leopard tanks and the American armored vehicles and whatnot, have been destroyed, a lot of casualties. So it's not, I think we have to see the real change on the map, because for now we're talking about just a few positions being taken over and again retaken back. We have to see how it develops, but that's, I would say that's just the beginning, because Ukraine also has reserves, both in terms of personnel and weapons, of course. So it's gonna keep throwing people into the meat grinder, and the same goes for the Russian side, because they have to fight it back.
Right. Senya, my final question. We get very little information about the situation inside Russia itself in the middle of this conflict. You know, a year back, it was a war against a Nazi regime in Kiev. That was the pitch that had come in from Vladimir Putin. What is the narrative surrounding the war right now after 1 year?
Well, it's a tough question because what the society now understands, and of course, Russian elites have understood this much before, but the society as well now understands that probably the plan was different. Maybe it was not taking Kiev within 3 days, but it was different. Nobody believes that. Vladimir Putin really wanted such a prolonged and such a bloody war as we see now. But the narrative is that Russia is fighting the what they call collective West, and that it's a proxy war. And it's not just the Kremlin propaganda's narrative. I think the entire, developing world, including India, sees it that way, because Russia is not really fighting Ukraine per se, or Ukrainian people per se. It is fighting a huge Western war machine, and it's very unfortunate that Ukraine became a battleground for that.
Right. Thank you, Senya, for getting us the latest when it comes to the conflict in Ukraine and the changing dynamics on the ground in the wake of the dam blast.